Hey everyone, thank you so much for visiting this channel. Now, have you ever looked at your life and thought, why am I so exhausted when this is the life I wanted? This is what I built. I should be happy. Because maybe the reality is that you're successful. You're successful at work, you're successful at home, your family depends on you, and people at work and in your personal life always see you the one who has it all together. But underneath it all, is that really the reality? You're probably feeling tired, not just physically, but mentally and maybe spiritually, maybe emotionally. If you're up at night searching for things like how to recover from burnout, why am I always overwhelmed? How do I stop living in survival mode? I want you to know that you're in the right place for today's conversation. I'm Jessica. I'm a registered nurse of more than 25 years already, which is amazing. And, after so many years of caring for my patients and then eventually healthcare teams as I went into leadership, I actually ended up experiencing burnout myself. And that's because through it all, I spent so much of my time in my life taking care of everyone else. And I realized later on in hindsight, really, that at some point I stopped asking myself how I was doing. I stopped checking in. I was just constantly putting out and doing for everyone else. Because of that experience, today I get to help women, professional women who find themselves in the similar situation. They're exhausted, they're overwhelmed, they're tired of it all, and they just want to get out of that survival mode, get out of that autopilot. They want to reclaim their energy, and they just want a life where they don't aren't chronically constantly feel like they need a vacation, they want to run away or disappear. Today, we're going to talk about the very first step in what has become my teaching model for helping these women, and that is what I call my reset method. The R in reset stands for recognizing, because you can't change what you don't even see or have acknowledged. Okay, so why is it that we end up living in autopilot? It actually happens slowly because it happens through that one obligation at a time that builds up. They add up. Or that one promotion and then the next. Or your first child and then your second. An aging parent, the volunteering, the philosophy that I'll rest later. Eventually, before you know it, your calendar is filled and your life is full, overly full. And while that's all filling up, because it all requires from you, inside, you're slowly depleting until you hit empty. Look, your body starts with just whispering at you when it's trying to get your attention. Burnout doesn't happen in one big scream. It just slowly over time, you're getting signals and messages from your body, and we're oftentimes not really paying attention to that. It's in the way you're always feeling tired and you accept it as the normal and you just keep pushing through. It's in all the ways you're having a hard time concentrating as well as you used to. It's in not remembering things. It's in, can you even remember the last time you freely enjoyed yourself? And when I say freely enjoyed yourself, it's like while you're enjoying yourself, you're not thinking of the 100 things that need to get done, or you're not feeling the guilt from taking time out to have some fun. Okay, so here's what I've learned over the last couple of decades in my career as a nurse. Our bodies are incredibly resilient as well as incredibly wise. Our bodies are not bulletproof, and we often take our body's wisdom for granted. Stress doesn't just show up all of a sudden in a big panic. Sometimes it's the daily anxieties. Sometimes it shows up as just numbness to the situation or your environment. Sometimes it's in the irritability. Sometimes it's in the insisting brain fog. Sometimes it's just feeling disconnected. And here's the thing, these feelings, they're happening little by little every day throughout your life. And because of that, it eventually just feels normal to feel these things. And that's what living on autopilot ends up being. It's living in survival mode to the point where you've completely forgotten what thriving even is. For years, I was the go-to. I was the dependable one. I was the one that everyone relied on. I was passionate about my career as I grew it. I loved my children and prioritized them. I always loved helping people. I always, of course, loved making a difference, having an impact, being there for others. But eventually, somewhere along the way, what happened was is I started disappearing. I became so focused and routine in serving everyone else that I just at some point just completely stopped checking in on myself, completely stopped checking in to see how I was feeling and what I really wanted. I just kept doing, I just kept pushing through, I just kept showing up anyway. And then guess what? Eventually, life forced me to take a timeout. I didn't want a timeout, and I couldn't imagine how to take a timeout. I couldn't imagine how anything in my life was going to go on productively or positively without me being at the center of it. Life eventually forced me into a timeout, not because I wanted to. Gosh, I didn't even see how it was possible to take a timeout. I mean, just with how much people needed me and wanted me to help them, I just didn't know how things would get done or go on if I wasn't around to help. During that season, during my time out, I realized something that completely transformed my life, and I live differently today. Today, I thrive. And during that season, I learned something that changed me for the rest of my life. And today, I'm so happy to say that today I live and I thrive. I learned and realized that me having that burnout wasn't a time management problem, because for a minute I thought it was, because so I kept constantly trying to improve my productivity. I tried every tip or trick that was out there to help improve my productivity. But that's not what burnout was. It wasn't a time management problem. It was a lack of awareness problem. I wasn't aware of the way that I was doing things, the way I was making my decisions that was actually burning me out. I had some pretty bad habits. I had some pretty bad beliefs. I functioned in a available 24/7 if anybody need me. I mean, I offered myself that way. I'd tell people like, you call me anytime, it doesn't matter what time of the day it is, I'm there for you. Or I would I subscribe to the belief that I'll sleep when I'm dead. I mean, I would just push through regardless of how tired I was. I had this open door policy. I was accessible to anyone and everyone at all times. I was pretty bad at setting boundaries. I couldn't have built a life that I loved and thrived in until I got honest with myself. I needed to admit to myself that the life that I was living by that point was no longer serving me. These beliefs, these habits, they weren't serving me anymore. They were hurting me. That's why the first step to healing in life, hitting reset and healing and getting to a point where you can thrive again, that's why the first step is to recognize, acknowledge, admit. I mean, recognizing your bad habits and recognizing your some of these ways that we're showing up that are hurting us. It's not about judging. It's not about judging ourselves. There's no judgment. You should approach it with curiosity. Like, is it still working for you? And why is it still not working for you? And what needs to change? What am I doing? What are my beliefs? It's about understanding what things in your life, in your universe, in your circle are draining you of your energy. And then it's about trying to understand what makes you feel good, what makes you feel alive. And for many women in this position, we don't even remember what makes us feel happy anymore. I mean, think about conversations that you're having, the ones that might make you feel energized, but then think about the ones that are draining you as well. Think about all the ways you're saying yes when you really would rather be saying no. And here's a doozy. This one had hit me pretty hard when I went through this. And that was, what expectations am I carrying that no one ever actually asked me to carry? I had learned and realized that I was carrying a lot of expectations that I had placed on myself. No one actually ever gave those to me. I set these high bar expectations for myself, and when I didn't meet them, I would just beat myself up. Awareness gives you choice. Understanding and knowing yourself a little bit more and how these things are contributing gives you choice. Choice creates change. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to grab yourself a journal, and on a blank page, I want you to write this one header. Write down my energy. That's the header. And the next step I want you to do is I want you to brainstorm, just brain dump a list of all the ways that your energy is pulled out of you, the things that are draining your energy. Think personal life, think personal beliefs, think work life, think friendships, colleagues, relationships, all of it. Just dump it all out of your brain and put it on the list. And then I want you to make a second list. In the second list, I want you to write down what things you see in your life right now that actually might be giving you any energy, things that give you energy, things that might actually be making you happy. Don't edit anything, just be honest and just keep writing. Don't judge yourself. Just what I want you to do when you're done with writing these lists, I want you to look for themes and patterns, things that are constantly coming up. I mean, for me, I was a perfectionist. I was a people pleaser, right? Those kept coming up for me, and those beliefs inside of me, those desires inside of me were driving me to say yes to everything and anything, and to set high expectations and to exceed expectations. And that was exhausting. When patterns and themes begin to appear, now you've got the starting of a roadmap for yourself. This is your starting point. Okay, so here's another question for you that I want you to write down in your journal and reflect. In your journal, I want you to write the question, where in my life am I just surviving on autopilot instead of intentionally choosing how I want to live? There are no wrong answers. No wrong answers. Again, no need to judge. It's not about what ways you're being perfect and not perfect. It's none of that. The goal here is awareness, bringing to the forefront of your mind and to your eyes the ways that our own habits and thoughts and practices are actually contributing. Awareness is where transformation begins. All right, well, if today's conversation resonated with you, if it spoke to you, if you want a little bit more, of course, I'll be back next week with another video. But in the meantime, I invite you to join my community. It's called the Women's Reset Collective. This is a community that is for women like us to stop merely surviving and actually start intentionally creating lives that we can fill with peace, with joy. Inside the community, there's a lot of great resources, including 3 free courses for you. That the courses contain some worksheets, workbooks, self-reflection journal prompts. There's also a great discussion section where we can speak to each other. There's other women there. We can, share wins with each other or ask each other questions or learn from one another. Because the reality is, the reason that even